Welcome to 6 Steps to Prevent Cyber Attacks and Build a Winning Strategy. I'm Penny Wild. I'm the Deputy Director of the New Jersey Business Action Center. We are here every day helping people across the state, businesses navigate state government resources in and out so that they can grow and thrive. And we bring you greetings from our Lieutenant Governor and Secretary of State, Tahisha Wei, who heads up the Department of State as well, and Melanie Willoughby, who is our Executive Director of the New Jersey Business Action Center, has been a business advocate forever and is here also for any of your questions that you have around how to start a business. We have a 1-800 number, 1-800-JERSEY-7. We invite you all to participate in that with any of your questions around how to start a business, how to get things going. We have lots of resources. If you go to the New Jersey Business Action Center on our website, you'll be able to see all the different resources that we offer. And among those resources are helping businesses understand cybersecurity and the challenges of cybersecurity. So with us today are 2 presenters, Mishak Walker, who's the cybersecurity liaison with the Department of State and New Jersey Business Action Center. So he is available and our team is available to come out and go through some of the challenges around cybersecurity and different ways that you can address that. And also Michael Randisi with the Cybersecurity State Coordinator, and he's with the New Jersey Cybersecurity and Communication Integration Cell. That is such a mouthful. So welcome to Michael and Mishak. I'm just going to toss it right over to Michael and you can jump on in. 100-JERSEY-7. We invite you all to participate in that with any of your questions around how to start a business, how to get things going. We have lots of resources. If you go to the New Jersey Business Action Center on our website, you'll be able to see all the different resources that we offer. And among those resources are helping businesses understand cybersecurity and the challenges of cybersecurity. So with us today are 2 presenters, Mishak Walker, who's the cybersecurity liaison with the Department of State and New Jersey Business Action Center. So he is available and our team is available to come out and go through some of the challenges around cybersecurity and different ways that you can address that. And also Michael Randisi with the Cybersecurity State Coordinator, and he's with the New Jersey Cybersecurity and Communication Integration Cell. That is such a mouthful. So welcome to Michael and Mishak. I'm just going to toss it right over to Michael and you can jump on in.
Awesome. Thank you very much. For those of you who have not met before, my name is Michael Randisi. I'm with the New Jersey office.
If you could speak up a little bit closer to your microphone, Michael, it's hard to hear you.
Sure. Good? Better?
That's a little better, yep.
All right. So good morning. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Michael Randisi. I'm with the New Jersey Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness and the NJBAC, which is the New Jersey Cybersecurity Communications and Integration Cell. Yes, a mouthful. We are a subdivision of the NJBAC. I am a cybersecurity coordinator for the state of New Jersey. So basically what that means is I work with all 21 counties and their IT or information technology offices in establishing cybersecurity guidance and practices to ensure the protection of their networks and anything revolving around the use of information within the counties. With that being said, just waiting for the slides. Thank you. So what I'm here to talk to you about today is what the NJBAC can actually do for business owners and such, and how we can help you protect your information and day-to-day use. And so the title of my presentation is Strengthening Cyber Resilience and Safeguarding Businesses. Next slide, please. So NJBAC, what are we? We were established in 2015 under Chris Christie's Executive Order 178, a division under the New Jersey Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness. We are charged with leading cybersecurity efforts for the executive branch of the state of New Jersey. In the recent years, we've actually kind of propagated more into working with our county partners, our federal partners, our municipal partners, and then onto the private side, dealing with businesses, out-of-state organizations, and even going worldwide within our membership. Next slide. So what does the NJBAC actually do? We're comprised of three separate bureaus: governance, risk, compliance, cyber threat outreach and partnerships, and security operations and security engineering and cyber operations. Governance, risk, compliance is more of those dealing with sensitive information, understanding how your systems work, how to protect the information, what we use within the executive branch of the state of New Jersey. With any executive branch, we do risk assessments against those systems and those vendors, and understanding how to protect your information as a New Jersey citizen and as a business owner. As cyber threat outreach and partnership, that's the group I fall under. We're kind of that front facing group, but we're trying to instruct individuals on how to protect your information, different training initiatives on how to ensure your employees as a business owner understand how to protect that specific information that you're holding, whether it be sensitive or not, or just business sensitive for your initial dealings. And then there's security engineering and cyber operations, which are more of the network engineers within our department dealing with the back-facing network, understanding how network trends work, cybersecurity threats affect different coding initiatives within the programs that we use. Next slide, please. So the easiest way to become a member of the NJBAC is you go to cyberattacks.gov. We are a free organization. Everything we offer is free. When you do sign up to be a member, I'm going to further explain through this presentation of what you actually can receive as being a member of the NJBAC. We are about 15,000 people wide with our membership. That's since our true establishment in 2014. And that goes nationwide and worldwide through I can't speak to the number of countries, but multiple countries that are involved in our partnership. So as a member, you receive everything that I'll talk about today, plus more of whatever comes in the future. Next slide, please. So going into what the NJBAC offers and what we can offer for businesses and such, dealing with threats, advisories, and vulnerability notifications. Next slide. So how to keep your business informed as far as what's going on in the world of cyber and how it affects you. Within our organization, we monitor different global networks and cybersecurity threats to understand how the potential is for threats and vulnerabilities on state networks, county networks, and business networks as far as the private sector goes. So what you see from us as part of our membership will be different things regarding cyber alerts, cyber advisories, and vulnerability notifications. Cyber alerts are going to be those things that are affecting you right away. They're immediate, they're high importance. There are specific attacks that may be happening at the very instance right now. Every week we tend to put out these different alerts as we see need, as we see fit within the state, understanding the systems that these entities might use. There's cyber advisories, which are more preventative guidance. We don't know if it's going to affect you, but we're making sure you're aware of the certain situations that may arise in the future in relation to the potential advisory, mitigation steps, any configuration changes that may be needed. And then there's vulnerability notifications. These are more of newly disclosed vulnerabilities or exploits that are out there in the wild. We have no evidence that they're currently taking place within systems on both public and private networks, but we want to make you aware of the certain instances where there is potential for it to affect you. Next slide, please. On cyberengine.gov, we have a listing of different factors that would relate to the alerts and advisories. So when you go to Cyberattacks.gov, you can click the link and it'll show you alerts and advisories in the top. On the next slide, I'll detail that out a little bit, but more reference to businesses and how this may affect you and some information to help you secure your business is I highlighted a few areas that might be a focus here. So point of sale systems, obviously as a business, most of you would have point of sale systems. There are malware vulnerabilities out there that affect point of sale systems. This link can detail out some of the stuff we've seen in the past, some of the stuff you may to make you aware of what's going on. I'll touch back on ransomware in a second. Going on denial of service attacks, These are more attack-based vectors that'll slow down your internet connectivity, basically halt any activity that reference to your business, so you become stationary and you cannot do anything as far as transactional wise. Talking of phishing and online scams. So everybody has seen phishing before, whether as a normal citizen or a business owner. These different things under phishing and online scams go into what can affect you as a business owner. Hence, whenever we touch back on ransomware, typically when you are susceptible to a phishing scam, the potential for ransomware takes place. A lot of times, a lot of issues today that we see is ransomware going after businesses, since that's truly where the money is at in the case. We do provide ransomware guidance within these different links, as well as if you contact us for incident response, we can provide guidance to ransomware incidences there as well. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, alerts and advisories. These are some recent alerts and advisories, and I kind of highlighted a few that might be more interesting to business owners. These links are available on Cyberattacks.nj.gov under the threats and alerts page. So costly cryptocurrency scams on the rise. Cryptocurrencies is a major thing within the use of today. I mean, there's thousands of different cryptocurrencies. Whether your business uses things like that or not, this might be something of interest to you. NJ Motor Vehicle smishing campaign continues. This is text message campaigns that are targeting multiple people around scamming them into believing that they're being susceptible to motor vehicle. While this might not be a business relation thing, this can be used in replacement of your business to spoof people to think that you're trying to get them to submit money somehow or another. Credential theft phishing campaign. This is one, as I mentioned before, phishing targeting individuals for credentials, maybe to your organization if you have a login within your page. An uptick in fraudulent unemployment insurance claims. This is relevant to your employees. And then a phishing campaign impersonation of the Social Security Administration. This would be something targeting personally identifiable data, which whether or not your individual organization holds that or not, this may be important for you to look at as well. Next slide, please. So training and awareness. You can just go next slide when I get to these. So the NJBAC offers awareness materials, training resources, and guides to help educate employees and business owners. So a couple of things that I want to highlight for business owners specifically on how cybersecurity affects you would be business email compromise. This is basically an email deception that's compromised of a social engineering attack to where they fake or spoof being your business in order to attach potential invoices to gain access to financial funds from your customers. This has been a tactic that's been used by cyber threat actors for many, many years. There's links within the NJBAC organization website that give you details on how to understand and how to validate whether or not you're being susceptible to business email compromise. Insider threat is another one that's kind of targeting your business as a whole. And this could be any employee that has access to sensitive information or financial data within your organization. Now, insider threat kind of falls into two different cases. There's the malicious case where someone may be trying to do harm to your organization, or the unintentional where someone just makes an honest mistake. Both cases fall into the facts of insider threat. And then supply chain security. So those of you that use third-party vendors or services to access information or supply goods and things like that, manipulation of those organizations, potentially if they have access to your network. These are ways that organizations have become victims in the past. So when I talk about supply chain security, I want to make sure we understand the fact of who has access to your information, what you're giving them, and how much trust you have within these organizations. Doing security assessments against them is a top priority in the business world. So kind of different within the NJBAC website, we highlighted these. As I mentioned before, the top right one would be don't be fooled, ways to prevent business email compromise. Second one, I just kind of made a little clip of the insider threat is defined as the potential for an individual who has or had authorized access to organization's assets to use the access in any way that may negatively impact the organization. My bottom right clip details about supply chain security and how they used the NotPetya malware to compromise most of Ukraine's infrastructure back in 2017. And then talking about cybersecurity. I mean, cybersecurity is a big thing today. All the county organizations and state organizations have cybersecurity in the case of compromise. We do put a recommendation on it. If you can afford cybersecurity, please please try to obtain it, especially if you hold sensitive information. Next slide. And best practices and guidance. So keeping your business secure. We kind of want to go over some different best practices which involve presentations, cybersecurity reports. Next slide, please. Actually, don't think that slide was supposed to be in there, but okay. No, you're good. Back. So on the NJBAC website, we have a few things that we kind of highlight as far as best practices. So following up on account security, this is going to be how you access your information within your organization. Are you putting proper passwords in place? Are you setting up your credentials, multi-factor authentication, things like that we'll touch on a little bit. Cybersecurity hygiene. We have preparation guides as far as what you should be doing for cybersecurity. We have specific ones for small cybersecurity preparation guides for small and medium-sized businesses. As far as further training material, we go further into cyber hygiene. Email security, if you have your own domains and you actually monitor and manage your own domains, we have some snippets of information on how to protect that information. Identity theft, for those of you that hold PII within your organization, there's details we can supply within you here. Social media is a big one because almost every single organization out today uses social media. As we all know, there are threats and vulnerabilities within social media, especially targeting the public in cases. So we provide some guidance, cybersecurity guidance around social media. And the last one on the top right will be the specific instances I've talked about were business related to business and government. Next slide. So cyber hygiene best practices. I just want to put a few quick snippet of how this kind of things we try and put out to the public. So relating to best practices and how you should protect your information. Simple guidance on the right. Before you click on something, scroll over it, see what it says, make sure it's the right link. A lot of times we see spoofing within organizations. It's one of the biggest problems we have today is those are phishing emails. We want to make sure we're actually clicking the proper links. Verify your unexpected requests. So if you receive a request from a third party or supply chain vendor that you don't normally see, verify it's them. Give them an actual call to make sure that it is coming from them. Use strong, unique passwords, and limit personal information online. Next slide, please. So quick details of going over some password protections that I always want to make sure we're following. Obviously, don't reuse passwords. This is especially essential in the business world, as we do a lot of shared accounts within the business world, and that's not something that we really want to highlight, as it does open the potential for vulnerabilities or password sharing and creating compromise within those accounts. So everybody should have their own account that secures your information, secures your business's information. As I said, complex passwords, changing passwords every 90 days if you can, and avoid easily guessable information. But the biggest thing I would like to highlight here is the use of multi-factor authentication. So you're obviously going to have something which will be your username and your password. Then you can have a token or an authenticator app or SMS codes or email links. These are essential in a secondary defense in depth mechanism to ensure the protection of your authentication into your accounts or your business accounts or your email or your customers' authentication into any sort of portal on your side. Next slide. So NJBAC resources. These are things that we have on the state side that can be employed on the business side as well. So policies and guidance. So the NJBAC has something called a statewide information security manual. This is about a 300 or 400 page document that consists of all the policies that we use within the state of New Jersey. While it is a New Jersey document, it's comprised of federal standards, so it can be used within organizations around the country as well. Please, if you want to take a look at this, if you don't have security policies, please use this as a reference. It's a wonderful thing to have. We also, on our website, we also have policy templates that you can use for different things, whether that be security policy or user agreement policies. Security assessment. So we do something called a cybersecurity program control assessment. It's an online assessment, 71 questions that basically helps us understand the security posture of your organization. We can provide recommendations based off of that. In addition, this year, with the use of AI exploding, we've provided AI guidance to the workplace for the state of New Jersey. Once again, this is based off of federal policies, so we can use this for business reasons as well. Next slide, please. Um, Within the grants and resources program, while the NJBAC does not employ grants themselves, we can help facilitate grants with our federal partners if needed, federal state partners, and then detailing out different strategic plans and resources that we have on the state level that can be essential to business use as well, through different things there. As I mentioned, the state information security model being a policy, our policy management platform. Same thing with the guidance and responsible use of generative AI. These are things that we want to take a look at as a business owner, see where we can employ them as needed. Next slide, please. So something new that just came out about 2 weeks ago from the NJBAC, the New Jersey Civilian Cyber Resilience Corp. As an organization, in NJBAC, we are about 50 employees. That means that we deal with all the state services, a lot of the county services, and some municipal and government related services. But what happens to the little guys on the end? What do we have to respond? What do we have in regards to response to them? So the NJ Cyber Corps is basically, we are trying to work with our super intelligent private partners or citizens to create a workforce, a volunteer workforce that can help in the case of emergencies. So someone who can help, that understands the process of cyber assessments, target hardening. If your business receives a ransomware, someone we can send out to assist you with ransomware response and recovery, any potential cybersecurity training, strategic or policy development, and threat intelligence sharing. So we're drawing the hands on this in two different ways. One would be if your organization, you or anybody you know that has capable of doing cybersecurity or does cybersecurity as a living on the outside of government work, we'd like to see if they'd be interested in helping us. And the second part would be if you are susceptible or you have received a cyber incident, you can request assistance from the NJBAC. And we can provide you someone to actually come out and understand what exactly is going on, try to provide you a response and recovery. So that's something that we're trying to stress over the next few weeks as we just put into enacted that. Next slide, please. So information sharing and analysis. The NJBAC is kind of a special place because we are based out of the state's fusion center, the ROC, the Regional Operations and Intelligence Center in West Trenton. We are not a standalone organization within NJ Homeland Security. We are focused within our state and federal partners at the Regional Operations Intelligence Center, being the FBI, NJ State Police, NJ OEM, to name a few. Our goal is to have a central place for information sharing. That helps us understand everything in an actual reasonable amount of time rather than relying on everybody else to supply us with different information. We are additionally a multi-sector collaboration, which means we deal with federal, state, county, and municipal, and just into law enforcement, elections, healthcare, water, energy, financial, and small business organizations. Next slide, please. So benefiting small businesses through threat analysis. So what do we actually do on the back end of threat analysis and understanding the threats that come towards small businesses? We monitor the reports that come out through our federal and state partners across the country to understand what everybody else is seeing. So something that we may not necessarily see in New Jersey, but that may be happening in California, we want to know. We want to get ahead of that trend. We want to make sure you're aware as a small business that you may be susceptible to this trend in the future. If we can prepare you for an incident that may occur, we may be able to stop that incident from occurring. Incident correlation and trend analysis. So same thing as I said about threat analysis, understanding what incidents have actually been happening. Especially in the case of New Jersey, what's targeting different businesses? Are they targeting different sectors? Are they targeting different mechanisms within these businesses? How we can help you prevent any potential vulnerabilities from taking place? And then malware and phishing analysis. This would be more targeted towards systems or access to business email compromise to understand the takeovers at the business level. How do we work to prevent our partners from being victims? Next slide. Thank you. So going on to incident reporting. The NJBAC is an incident reporting mechanism, kind of a two-part. We deal with cybersecurity incidents and data breach reports. From the cybersecurity incident reporting side, as a small business owner, you're not required to submit a cybersecurity incident to us. From a public entity side, there is law and legislation that requires you to submit cybersecurity incidents. If you do receive a cybersecurity incident, we appreciate it if you submit it, because the more information we collect, the more information we can analyze and then possibly prevent anybody else from becoming a victim. Um, on the data breach side, that is actually comprised of the New Jersey Identity Theft Prevention Act. This basically says that if you do have a compromise of your system and you do have a compromise of personally identifiable information, you are required to submit a data breach to the NJBAC. This helps us understand the potential outreach of identity theft within the state of New Jersey. And these, if you go to cybernj.gov, you're good. If you go to cybernj.gov /report, these links are available to you there. So going over some of the NJBAC member services, the kind of the ones I highlighted here for businesses to kind of focus on is data backups, ensuring you always have backups within your organization. If you are compromised through a cyber threat, backups are going to save you. Multi-factor authentication and all ways to authenticate into your business, especially with clients or customers if you have access to sensitive information. User awareness training, training your people, training the human. Human is one of the biggest things we want to focus on in cybersecurity, as it is a compromisable factor. Having cybersecurity plans, even on the smallest business, it's good to have a standard cybersecurity plan to understand what's connected within your network, what assets you actually have. Tabletop exercises. Mishak and I have ran tabletop exercises on a very large scale down to a very small scale. These things that we can certainly hope to facilitate in the future. Caution with email, cybersecurity threats that take place in email, phishing, and social engineering. And then limit sharing information online. This will be more focused towards the personal level, but could also take place at the business level as well. And just a quick broad range of highlights that the NJBAC does. We do a weekly bulletin when you become a member. These are just weekly highlights about cybersecurity, either threats, initiatives, things that take place around the world. We do presentations. This can be done for anybody. It's at no cost. And we can go from a very general cybersecurity best practices presentation to a more technical, in-depth presentation. Cybersecurity reports, handling risk management, incident response, as I mentioned, alerts and advisories, the cybersecurity assessments that we offer, grant management for the public sector. Training is offered to everybody, and then Cyber Range, which is also a public sector offering. And the last thing I have is the contact information at the NJBAC if you ever need anything. And that is all I have for you today. Thank you.
Afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Mishak Walker, and I serve as the cybersecurity liaison for New Jersey's Business Action Center, as well as cybersecurity coordinator for New Jersey's Department of State. It's a pleasure to be here today with you all. We do have a lot in store for everyone here today, so let's jump right in. Okay, so to begin, to this day, even after all of the cyber attacks we've seen over these past few years, cybersecurity in many organizations and companies is still considered an afterthought, meaning somewhere and somehow there's still somewhat of a disconnect. And it's not a matter of if there's enough information and resources out there, because that's far from the truth, especially as, you know, Mike just went over the resources from the NJBAC, but paying attention to the trends over the past 5 years has shown there's still a vast amount of businesses who have not taken the necessary steps to protect their business. And the honest truth here is, whether you're a small business or a large business, threat actors don't discriminate. The bottom line is they prey off our opportunities. So you can be a business with 5 employees, 500 employees, or even 5,000 employees. If your technology has weak protections, If your business has no cybersecurity foundation, if your organization practices poor cyber hygiene, these are all of the opportunities that the threat actors seek. So it doesn't matter if it's MGM casinos or if it's a local law firm. If there's a weakness, there's a high probability, depending on the criticality, that it will be exploited. And as the slide reads here, 60% of small companies close within 6 months of a cyber attack. And I can guarantee that one of the reasons they were hacked, breached, or even involved with the cyber incident was because one of the weaknesses I just mentioned. Next slide. Now, when a business falls victim to a cyber attack, let's say, for example, you've been breached and your company or organization stores sensitive information like social security numbers or date of birth. But the first question is, do you know that you're required to report that breach in the state of New Jersey? And the second question is, how do you think your customers will feel knowing that their personal information is at risk because your business didn't have the proper protections in place? And if we're being honest here today, they'll most likely lose that trust. And to add to that, what happens if the incident starts to gain a ton of media attention? Now, all of a sudden, you have to be concerned with that damage going beyond your client, your current clients, and potentially affecting your reputation in a way you're able to conduct business in the future. Now, imagine that same attack includes a ransom demand. Now, your systems are locked. Operations are coming to a stop, and recovery costs begin to climb. And these are the realities that happen right of boom, meaning after the attack. And this is exactly why so many small businesses never reopen after a major cyber incident. Next slide. Now, that said, that's why our focus should be left of boom, taking the necessary proactive measures so that your businesses or your business can be safe, which is ultimately the definition of cybersecurity. The measures taken to protect your business's critical assets from digital threats and unauthorized access, which can all fall within three pillars. That's people, that's processes, and that's technology. Next slide. And to take this a step further, by implementing good cybersecurity practices and maintaining good cyber hygiene enables your business to keep operations running no matter if there is a cyber incident because there's measures and safeguards in place. It builds customer trust because the data your customers are providing to you is protected in each state that it's in. It also supports sustainable growth because when there is new technology or systems being added to your business, there's processes in place to make sure risks aren't being introduced. And lastly, it reduces risk because of the safeguards and countermeasures that are in place to help protect your business. And building on that point, no business is exempt from risk, but you can reduce risk to an acceptable level through layered defenses to ensure things are protected within your business. Next slide. However, on the contrary, a lot of times we fall victim to these statements on the screen, and you could display all the statements, that's fine. For example, my business is too small to be targeted, or cybersecurity is way too expensive. And really, any of these businesses, any of these bullets here on the screen can be debunked. However, I'm curious to hear from the audience today if there are any things that's not listed here that can get in the way of establishing cybersecurity practices in your business. Maybe it's not an excuse and it's a valid reason why cybersecurity practices is such a hard implementation for your business. But with that said, you can feel free to put those answers into the chat and we can perhaps touch on those during our Q&A session. Next slide. So moving on to cybersecurity truth and beginning with size, it doesn't matter the size of your business because at the end of the day, if you're using a piece of technology that has some type of vulnerability or some type of security flaw, it doesn't matter if you're a Bank of America or a small grocery store. If that technology isn't updated to remediate that vulnerability, you're putting your business at risk. Now, when it comes to data, I'm sure everyone here, has employees, and those employees at some point in time has provided some type of personal or sensitive information that should be protected. However, if you're an owner who is still under the impression that you don't have any valuable data for a threat actor, even non-sensitive data like an email address or a phone number can still be sold on the dark web. So it doesn't matter if your business doesn't store sensitive information like customers' credit card details. Information can be pieced together to carry out other attacks on your customers, on your employees, and potentially on yourself as the business owner. And then there's the expense part. And I've heard this multiple times. Cybersecurity is way too expensive. And my immediate answer to that is the cost of a data breach or ransomware occurring is far much more expensive and could perhaps dictate if your business stays open or closed. So the best practice would be, or my recommendation would be, finding ways to be proactive, consulting with cyber experts on your technology, and ultimately figuring out how you can protect your business in the most cost-effective and cost-efficient way. Next slide. And on that same note, cybersecurity is no different from the best practices we follow in everyday life. If we all take a quick second to think about our cars for a brief moment, when that engine light or the tire pressure warning sign light comes on, we know it needs attention. But if we choose to ignore it, we're choosing to accept the risk of eventually the engine overheating or the tires maybe blowing out or some other mechanical issue. And that same idea applies to your business. Strong passwords, multi-factor authentication, backups, regular updates, those are all of your oil changes and tune-ups, the small steps that keeps things running smoothly in the long term. But when you ignore them, what starts as a small warning can without a doubt turn into a full-blown breach or a ransomware attack with data loss and legal issues. And that's why we're here today, to help you take simple, proactive steps before those warning lights turn into costly repairs. Next slide. So with all of this said, today we're proud to announce that we have created a cybersecurity playbook that's entirely based on NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology Cybersecurity Framework 2.0. It covers all of the 6 core functions and breaks it down in a way where you as the reader can assess where you're at and where you want to be as a business when it comes to establishing cybersecurity. And the last thing I'll add before diving into this is the playbook was created with the intention of it being a practical guide, meaning if you were to download it right now, you'll be able to get straight to work by reading and reviewing the checklist in each core function. And you'll see what I mean as we continue to move forward and go a little deeper into the playbook itself. So moving along, and as previously stated, this cybersecurity playbook breaks down the 6 core functions that are in the NIST cybersecurity framework. That's governance, that's identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. And all of which have their specific roles within the framework. However, to keep this a little bit more engaged and before moving forward into the actual playbook itself, I'm curious to hear from you all by way of poll. If you guys could cue the poll up, which core function do you believe, or out of the 6 core functions in the NIST cybersecurity framework, which one do you think is the biggest impact on keeping an organization secure? And whether you're familiar with it or not, you can pick a choice in the poll. And if you want to explain why, you guys can definitely add that into the chat. But while you guys do that, I'll keep things going on my end. Okay. So jumping into things, jumping into things, I just want to briefly go over a quick background regarding NIST for all of those who may not necessarily know what the NIST cybersecurity framework is or how it came about. So really quick, NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, who is housed in the U.S. Department of Commerce, developed this framework as a result of an executive order back in 2013. And the task of developing a framework was given to NIST with the goal of helping improve cybersecurity for all of the critical infrastructures in the United States. That said, all of those efforts ultimately led us to the NIST Cybersecurity Framework version 1 in 2014. And fast forward all the way to now in 2025, we have the NIST Cybersecurity Framework version 2.0. Now, I know I mentioned critical infrastructure. However, from its creation, the NIST Cybersecurity Framework has been used by various companies and organizations to reduce cyber risk. And to add to this point, With the release of 2.0, NIST officially expanded the intended audience for the framework to encompass all organizations, regardless of size, sector, or maturity. So given all of this, next slide, here is where we are currently. Again, with the different 6 core functions within the framework, and this is what the Business Action Center Cybersecurity Playbook is based on, but broken down in a way where even if you're not a technology guru or a cybersecurity guru, you can understand what's needed, why it's needed, and where you are as a business. And the last thing I'll note on this is that Rome wasn't built in a single day. And if you interpret that saying how I interpret it, it essentially means that we can't change everything all at once, but we can definitely make progress each and every day until we maybe reach a milestone or maybe we reach a goal that we set out for. And that's exactly part of the intent for the NIST cybersecurity framework, as well as for the Business Action Center cybersecurity playbook. Because ultimately, the goal as a business owner shouldn't be to try and fix everything all at once, but more so of having a mindset of what's critical to my business, where am I at as far as protecting what's critical, and where should I be at as far as reducing the cyber risk that could potentially affect what's critical to my business. And all of these questions are great starting points that can be used in tandem with these resources, such as the playbook and the framework, to establish a strong cybersecurity foundation that you can build on and maintain. Now, looking at the poll, if we could wrap the poll up before I go in. Okay, see, so protect seemed to be the one that received the most, votes for. Okay, got protect. Then identify came in next. Interesting that governance didn't receive any votes. But in my honest opinion, you can move on to the next slide. In my honest opinion, the most critical core function, although each core function plays its own significant role, would be governance. And the reason why is because, and you could go to the next slide, and the reason why is because cybersecurity has to start at the top. And to personalize this for a moment, as a cybersecurity coordinator for the Department of State, if I have no backing from my senior leadership until something breaks or blows up, chances are the rest of the organization will adopt the same mindset of being reactive instead of being proactive. And essentially, it's really the same in any kind of business. Without established policies or clear expectations set, you can only imagine how much the business might suffer, especially in the case where you're an organization that has departments like human resources and finance that handle sensitive or confidential information every single day. So without controls or policies in place like acceptable use policies, password standards, or even access controls, you basically leave the door wide open for potential risk like breaches or unauthorized access to occur. And this is where whoever is at the top really comes into play, because that's who sets the tone. And that's who is ultimately accountable for ensuring that the organization is protected. And as a byproduct of setting those clear expectations and prioritizing cybersecurity, a culture begins to foster where security is woven into the fabric of the business. And don't get me wrong here. At the end of the day, the business will always be the most important thing. However, cybersecurity should be an enabler for the business, meaning it protects the confidentiality of your data from threats like unauthorized access. It protects the integrity of your data from unauthorized changes. And lastly, it protects the availability of your systems and data that are critical to the business. And if any one of these 3 pillars is compromised, the business will feel it, whether that's business operations slowing down, customer trust taking a hit, or productivity is dropping. The business will feel it. But all in all, that's why governance is so important, because when cybersecurity starts at the top, it doesn't slow the business down. It keeps it running. Simple as that. Next slide. So now that we've talked about leadership setting the tone, the next question becomes, what exactly are we protecting? And that's where the identify function steps in. It's ultimately where you take a step back and really look at your business from the inside out. And when it comes to identifying what you have to protect, the first question to always ask is, do we know what's truly critical to our business? Or in other words, meaning what systems might the business be relying on? Or what sensitive information could damage our reputation if it's exposed? Or which applications and technologies would shut down our operations completely if they suddenly went offline? Because before you can protect anything, you have to know what you have and what matters most. And in light of the NFL football season, not sure if anyone else in the audience is, but I'm a huge Giants fan, and despite what happened this past weekend, I'm still happy that they're finally giving the fans something to look forward to on Sundays. It's been far too long, but nonetheless, if you look at the image on the right, there's a statement at the bottom that says, "A great coach doesn't send players onto the field without knowing their strengths and roles." Well, now that same principle should apply to your business. You can't protect what you don't know you have. So just like a coach studies their roster, you should have an understanding of what's critical to your operations. And once you identify what's most important or critical, you can then start aligning your protections and priorities around it. And that's the whole purpose of the identify function. It gives you a clear picture of what matters most so your governance, policies, and controls are built on real understanding and not just assumptions. So if I have a database or a system that plays a huge role in how my business obtains its revenue, or it's a reason why my organization remains operational, I need to know what those are, and then we need to apply the necessary controls in order to protect those assets. Which brings me to the next core function. You can move on to the next slide. Because now that we've identified what's most critical to our business, your data, your systems, your website, your customer information, the next step is figuring out how to protect it. Because knowing what's important is one thing, but keeping it secure is another. And to put it into perspective, and using football again, you can think of the identify function as knowing your team roster and knowing that Jackson Dart for the New York Giants may be identified as the most valuable asset to that organization as of right now. So in that case, knowing that should mean let's build an offensive line that'll protect him before the threats, meaning the team on defense, comes rushing in. And this is essentially what the protect function is all about. Putting those safeguards in place so that when a threat actor comes your way, you're ready to block them before they reach what matters most. However, bringing this thing back to cybersecurity for a moment, without having the proper protections, the reality is one single cyber incident has the possibility of causing a ripple effect across your entire business. So it's not just a case of, oh, Janet just clicked on the link again and downloaded some malicious file, but we'll be fine. No, you're most likely not. That one click could be the start of something much bigger. If your e-commerce site goes down for even a day, you lose sales. If customer information gets exposed, you lose trust. And if your systems get locked up by ransomware, productivity stops and employees can't work. And that's exactly how fast one small mistake can turn into a major business disruption. And that's why protection can't just be an afterthought, because again, simple measures like keeping the software updated, using MFA, training staff to recognize phishing, or training Janet to recognize phishing are all protective plays. And even though they may seem small, together they create layers of defense that can really stop or limit the damage of an attack. Next slide. So with all of this said, and once you get to a place where you have the right controls in place to protect your business and what's most important to it, the next step is learning how to recognize when something is not right. Because even with the best protections in place, no business is completely immune, meaning you can lower or reduce your risk as much as possible, but you can't completely eliminate it because threats evolve every day, and that's where the detect function comes in. Detecting is all about awareness. It's about having the ability to catch the early warning signs before they turn into full-blown problems. And I'm a man full of examples, if you can't tell by now, but because I like to paint pictures as clear as possible so everyone can get a good example of what it is that I'm talking about. So again, for our example, taking a step and thinking about your business as if it was your home. You have locks for your doors. You've added alarm systems. You've installed a ton of cameras. Essentially, you've put all of these controls in place, whether it's deterrence, preventative measures, or detective measures. You have these protections in place. However, you still have to pay attention when something feels off. Maybe it's a sound or a face you don't recognize. Maybe you received an alert from that top-notch security system that you just put in place. Well, that same mindset applies here. That endpoint detection system, the antivirus or anti-malware that's protecting your endpoints also has the capability to detect and then alert you that it's noticed something unusual. And the more often you pay attention to these detections, whether it's people on your team, your staff, or you're outsourcing through third party, it ultimately enables you to stop it, before anything spreads or causes damage. For example, maybe there's a notice for multiple failed in login attempts, which can mean someone's trying to guess a password, or maybe you see logins happening at 2 a.m. from a different state or country when that's not the norm for any of your employees. And these are the small signs, but together they tell a story. And if you're not looking for them, you can easily miss the warning signs before something much bigger happens. And you could go to the next slide. So now when it comes to cybersecurity incidents, and we're moving on to the fifth core function response, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And when that moment comes, your response determines whether your business bounces back stronger or struggles to recover at all. And the response function in the NIST cybersecurity framework is where everything you've identified and protected gets put to test, right? And responding to an incident is ultimately a balance. And the reason why I say that is because, you have to have the ability to act quickly, mixed with staying calm, and also remembering to follow the plan to hold that hopefully your organization has established. So taking a look at the slide, and this is how it's prepared in a cybersecurity playbook as well. But we have the NIST incident response process. And the reason why I believe this process belongs within a playbook is because, one, it shows you how a cyber incident should be handled in its different phases. And secondly, it allows you to build a plan knowing what should belong or occur during each stage. So to begin, we have the preparation stage. And this is where before anything happens, we're making sure the team knows what to do and who's responsible for what. We've identified our key contacts, our backup locations, what assets are critical to the business's operations, and your communication channels, especially if you have to use out-of-band communications. Next, we have the detection and analysis stage. And this is where we're using those tools we've implemented earlier to confirm what's happening and to assess the impact. Was this just a phishing email that Janet fell for? Or is this also malware spreading on our network? And the quicker you can categorize the threat, the faster you can move towards trying to contain it. Now, for the third stage, we have containment, eradication, and recovery. And how this works is, once you confirm the incident and then isolated the effective systems to stop the spread, next would be using the right resources, whether that's through consultation or through the use of tools that you've implemented to help remove any malicious codes or finding. But once that eradication process is completed, and if you took care of what you needed to do during the preparation stage, as far as having clean backups that's been encrypted and tested, in a perfect world, next would be to restore from that clean and verified backup. And the last stage on the list is post-incident activity, where after all of the dust settles and the chaos has come to somewhat of an end, during this stage is the time to take a moment to meet with your team and review what just happened, and asking those important questions such as, well, what worked for us, or what didn't work for us, or what's missing from the plan, and using those lessons to strengthen your plan and communicate the improvements across your organization. And to wrap this function up, I'll note you don't want to wait until something happens to figure out what you'll do. Having the ability to respond effectively can be the difference between a brief disruption and a complete shutdown of your business. And this is a perfect segue into the last core function, recover. Because how you prepare determines the outcome of your recovery. Because when something happens, whether it's a ransomware attack, data has been lost or stolen, or even a system outage, your ability to recover quickly is what keeps your business alive. And without a recovery plan, downtime can drag on for days, which then could lead to one or two things, even both. Number one, being customers start to lose patience, or two, sales start to be missed or revenue starts to be affected. But when you've planned ahead, when you've tested backups, established clear roles and reporting, and built the strong communication plans, your recovery process becomes faster, smoother, and much less painful. So essentially, you want to think of it like this. If the protect function was your defense and the respond function was your reaction, recovery is all about your comeback. It's what shows your customers, your partners, and even your employees that your business is resilient. And that trust that you build after an incident, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. That's just as valuable as the data you restore because people remember how you responded, how transparent you were, and how quickly you got back up on your feet. Now, to wrap things up, and next slide, sorry. So to wrap things up, the cybersecurity playbook was made to, and you could go ahead and just place everything on a slide. So the cybersecurity playbook was made to guide you through what to do before something goes wrong. Because again, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So taking the time out to go through the playbook and review each core function and work through the checklist that goes along with these core functions is what helps you spot the gaps in your business and ultimately enables you to have the right protections, processes, and recovery steps in place. And by doing that, you put your business in a much safer position, strengthening defenses and creating a level of preparedness that keeps small problems from becoming a full-blown crisis. So if there's a ransomware attack, you'll know from going through the playbook that you already have the right measures in place to minimize business disruptions. Or maybe it's an incident where because you've implemented proper access controls, you've prevented what could have been a major data breach. Or even if it's a situation where system availability is at risk, because you've built out strong communication plans and established redundancy, your team knows who to contact, what to prioritize, or what critical assets to prioritize, and how to keep business operations running without coming to a halt. And that's what this playbook is about. Not perfection, but preparation. Each function works together so that when something happens, you already have the steps, the confidence, and the coordination in place to move forward. That being said, that includes all that I have, but we do have, the cybersecurity expert, Mike Randisi from the NJBAC on the call, and I don't want to hold the audience up to get a chance to fire away any questions that they may have for either one of us. And I know that we may be pressed for time, but please feel free if we want to move on to the Q&A and proceed further in the QR code. So if you scan that QR code, you'll be directed straight to the Business Action Center Cybersecurity Playbook. And it'll walk you through the actual, the core functions and along with a checklist for each core function that breaks it down. And again, it's easy to read, it's simple, and it's not full of technical jargon. So you'll be able to, whether you have the technology experience, whether you have cybersecurity experience, you'll be able to walk through it and read it alongside of your team.
Great. Well, thank you so much. This was incredible information. All the resources that are available to businesses is beyond anything that a lot of us even knew existed. So thank you so much for taking your time. We may have to do a part 2, and you can work people through the playbook, maybe a page at a time, so they can think about it with their teams and actually just even increase what they're doing on the inside of their company. So with that, I just want to turn it back to you for any closing remarks before we head on out of here. Michael.
Nothing specific. I just want to thank you for having me. If anybody's interested in more cybersecurity initiatives or training or anything that we can help through the NJBAC, please feel free to reach out directly to the NJBAC or directly to me. Thank you.
And Misha.
No, I just want to say thank you all for taking the time out to join today's session. And, echoing what Penny just mentioned, there should be a part 2 to this just to walk through all of the core functions and the different checklists that's in the playbook itself, because there's a lot of information that will help you protect your business from the many cyber threats that's out there. So thanks again and have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Terrific. And we're just going to go to one last slide, which is the New Jersey Business Action Center slide. And that's how to reach us in general, 1-800-JERSEY-7. You can also go to business.nj.gov. Our folks that work on the chat are also there. and go to and visit our website and see all of the resources, and certainly grab your copy of the Cybersecurity Playbook. So thanks everybody for taking the time for the New Jersey Business Action Center. Take care.